The numbers never made sense, Sandra. Not once. My name's Joe. I'm 31 years old, and I've been in finance long enough to recognize when the books are off. For the last year and a half, I'd been leading compliance reviews for Kelthorne, financial investment firm founded from the ground up by my wife Sandra's father, Harold, in Norfolk, Virginia. What began as small irregularities had gradually become a trend I couldn't overlook. Sandra was always Harold's shining star. He acted like she could do no wrong, especially after she came aboard 3 years ago to oversee client accounts. "She's got the gift," Harold would say proudly whenever someone complimented her results. "A natural in business, just like her old man." But the more I reviewed the reports Sandra prepared, comparing them with actual portfolio balances, the more the math failed to add up. At first, it was just a few $100s, maybe $1,000. Retirement accounts that looked healthy on paper but didn't reflect the real numbers behind them. Whenever I brought it up, Sandra would laugh it off. "You're overthinking it, Joe. Dad's accounting is ancient. Transfers take time." She'd kiss my cheek and steer the conversation elsewhere, but I'd catch that flicker in her eyes. A flash of something colder. The hardest part was seeing Harold light up every time Sandra presented those glowing quarterly summaries. "Look at these returns," he'd tell the staff. "Sandra's outperforming the market by 12%, but I knew better. Those accounts weren't growing. They were bleeding out while Sandra's personal expenses kept ballooning. Last month, I started keeping records, screenshots, copies, internal transfer logs. I tried convincing myself I was just being suspicious, that there had to be a reasonable explanation. But when I saw 74-year-old Mildred Peterson's statement show $87,000 when the real balance was just $62,000, I couldn't unsee it. That money was for her health care, and now it was gone. The folder sat in my drawer like a live wire. Every night I'd go home, kiss Sandra hello, and watch her laugh at some show while I quietly wondered if she was stealing from the very people who trusted her father with everything they had. "That new BMW she got last month? A company bonus," she said. "The $2,400 diamond bracelet? Another one?" I shut my laptop one night and looked across the room at my wife. 6 years together. Married 3. Could she really be doing this? Could the woman I loved be destroying lives behind that perfect smile? We met in a university coffee shop. She was beautiful, ambitious, full of vision. Her father had just launched Kelthorne. She'd speak passionately about helping Norfolk families build real wealth. "It's not like those big Richmond firms," she'd say. "We'll know our clients by name." Harold hadn't been thrilled about me at first. I was a shipyard kid from Newport News. My dad fixed boats, and Mom cleaned houses. But Sandra talked him into giving me a shot. After I graduated, he hired me to handle compliance. "Keep us honest," he'd said with a grin. "No room for mistakes in this game." Those early years were everything I'd hoped. Sandra worked late, fielded weekend calls, put in real effort. Harold would beam watching her hustle. "She gets it," he told me. "This work's about trust. Clients hand you their future. You treat that like sacred ground." But after Sandra became senior account manager, something changed. She still came home late, but the phone calls stopped. She'd say she was restructuring or researching. If I asked about specific clients, she'd grow evasive. "You know I can't talk client details, Joe." The first real red flag was Margaret Williams, a widow whose late husband had been Harold's very first client. She called, confused about her statement. Sandra smoothed it over, blaming a reporting delay. But I'd already checked Margaret's account myself. The money just wasn't there. I watched as Sandra's lifestyle climbed designer bags, spa days, high-end jewelry. She justified it with performance bonuses. Sure, Harold had implemented those, but Sandra's expenses far exceeded what those bonuses could cover. Then came the call I overheard. "Move the Richmond funds. Make sure the trail stays clean," she said to someone named Derek. When I asked later, she claimed he was a consultant. Harold, however, had no idea who Derek was. That night, I started the file. December 15th, I was finalizing the year-end audit when my stomach dropped. Thomas and Ruth Bailey, both 81, had invested their life savings of $137,000. According to Sandra's statement, it had grown to $153,000. The actual balance? $89,000. $64,000 gone. By midnight, I'd confirmed the pattern. It was deliberate. She was targeting elderly clients, people unlikely to check their accounts. Online. Falsified statements. Paper trails manually altered. 11 families. Over $218,000 missing when I walked in that night. She was wrapping gifts by the tree, humming, radiant, and all I could see was stolen money sitting under pine needles and ribbon. "How was work?" she asked. "Fine," I replied, but everything was unraveling. The next morning, I compiled everything: screenshots, forged documents, detailed losses. I labeled the flash drive "The Truth About Sandra." I didn't sleep. I lay in bed beside the woman I thought I knew, listening to her breathe, while everything around us prepared to explode. On December 22nd, I gave her a final chance. "Sandra, some of the accounts there are discrepancies," I said. She froze. "Discrepancies? Balances that don't align with statements. Serious ones. We should talk to your father." Her mask slipped. "Be careful, Joe. You're making accusations you can't prove, not accusations, findings." She stood, voice sharpening. "You're digging into confidential files, questioning my work, everything we've built." I responded, calm but firm. "It's my job to ensure accuracy. If something's wrong, I need to report it." That same afternoon, Harold summoned me. Sandra sat beside him, eyes red, hands folded, like a perfect victim. "Joe," he said, disappointed, "Sandra says you've been making serious allegations. I found mismatched balances, significant ones." Before I could continue, Sandra cut in. "He's been snooping through my files. Authorized." I defended myself, but the damage was done. "You're targeting your wife's work?" Harold asked. "I review every manager's files weekly." Harold shook his head. "Take the holidays off, Joe. We'll sort this after the new year." Night, Sandra was all smiles. "Let's use the time to reconnect," she purred. I smiled back. But inside, I was calculating. She thought she'd won, until Christmas Eve morning, while she was out getting her hair done. I got a call from Derek Morrison, not a consultant, a private investigator, hired by Kelthorne's insurance company, Mr. Williams. "I've reviewed your findings. They match ours," Derek said. Sandra wasn't just stealing. She was running a Ponzi scheme, $400,000 gone. 18 families hit. She'd even used an insider at Richmond Trust Bank to facilitate it. We briefed Harold yesterday. He knows everything. He's devastated. Sandra was scheduled to be arrested in 48 hours. I stared at the flash, now drive on my desk, and decided to let her family find out the truth tonight.